Walpurgisnacht. Walpurgis night was when, according to the belief of millions of people, the devil was abroad, when the graves were opened and the dead came forth and walked, when all evil things of earth and air and water held revel. Bram Stoker, Dracula's guest. There is a mountain very high and bare, whereon it is given out that witches hold their dance on Walpurgis night. Jacob Grimm, 1883. In the Germanic countries of Central Europe, there is what is essentially a second Halloween, Walpurgis night, or as it is often referred to in its German form, Walpurgisnacht, falling exactly 6 months from All Hallows Eve, or Samhain. Many of the ancient cultures divided the year into just 2 seasons, summer and winter. The dividing line between the 2 seasons were Beltane and Samhain, with Beltane being one of 8 solar Sabbats in the pagan calendar, its date based on the sun. In Britain, Wales, Scotland and Ireland, Beltane often begins at sunset on April the 30th and continues through May Day. Since the medieval era, at least, it was believed that the veil between the world of the living and the dead is thinnest on both the night of Halloween and the night before Beltane. As a result, it not just the ghosts of the dead, but fairies, shapeshifters, and in regards to Walpurgis, witches were at their most powerful and could more easily cross between the 2 worlds. Despite sharing the same date and many customs, there is a distinct difference between Walpurgis and Beltane. At its most basic, Beltane is primarily Gaelic and celebrated on May the 1st, whereas Walpurgis is Germanic and often celebrated the night before Beltane. If you were able to go back in time, however, you'd realise you're dealing with rural customs, in areas quite often cut off from much contact with the outside world. From that perspective, you'd likely see little difference between the 2 holidays. The primary difference between the ancient times and more modern history is Walpurgis has developed a distinctly witchy flavour. Walpurgis in the Middle Ages concerned itself with protecting yourself from or driving away witches. Today, as the fear of the craft fades slowly into the past, is all about celebrating witches. Both Beltane and Samhain relate to agriculture, but these 2 specifically to herding, rather than growing crops. It is at this time that animals were let out for grazing, or brought closer to home for the winter. Bonfires has an added benefit of frightening away predators. Trick-or-treating in a fashion was once celebrated on Valborg in southern Sweden. Though no longer popular, children went to the woods and collected branches of greenery to decorate the village houses, where they were paid in eggs. In Finland, Walpurg was referred to as Vappu or Vapen, and borrows the Germanic tradition of celebrating witches. It's one of the 4 biggest Finnish holidays and is the biggest carnival day of the year, celebrated in no small part by excessive intake of alcohol. Estonia too once looked upon Walpurgis as the date when witches gathered, and referred to it in a celebration of spring. It still sees carnivals, celebrations and drinking, often by people dressed as traditional witches. In the Czech Republic, winter is brought to an end on May 30th. The festival is called the Burning of the Witches. Witches made of rags and straw are burned, sometimes just a broomstick, though in the modern era it's more of an excuse to get drunk around the fire. When a burst of black smoke is emitted from the blaze, a cheer goes up as the witch is said to fly away. As the fire dies down and midnight approaches, it's off to the woods to search for cherry blossoms. It's thought that a young woman kissed under a cherry tree that night, and ideally through the next day, if one has the stamina, will keep both the tree and a young lady from drying up. To Czechs, it's a day all about love. Mass hysteria coalesced around the belief that Mount Broken, the highest peak of the Harz Mountains, was the scene of witches' sabbaths. These were said to be wild, orgastic gatherings at which witches would meet with Satan to plot trouble, mischief and evil for the coming year. This was commonly believed to take place on April 30th, the date upon which, in pagan legend, the devil Wotan married his beloved Freya, on the peak of the Broken. Locals would therefore come together on April 30th to protect themselves from the witches, to keep away evil spirits. They would make loud noises, light huge bonfires, and burn straw men and old belongings for good luck. What had originally been a celebration of spring morphed into a desperate attempt to protect oneself from evil. Some of these activities still continue today in modern-day celebrations. These include dressing up in costumes, hanging blessed sprigs of foliage from houses, and leaving offerings of bread, butter and honey for phantom hellhounds. As time went by, superstition and beliefs were gradually replaced by faith and science. The hysteria about witchcraft began to die down. Walpurgisnacht might have died out completely, were it not for the arrival of Romanism in the 19th century. This prompted a revival of interest in ancient customs and folk beliefs, which were respun into works of literature and art. Rather than something to be feared, Walpurgisnacht became a light-hearted celebration of fireworks, folk songs and dancing. The Broken became a site of pilgrimage, and the witch the source of titillating jitters, as Goethe put it in his famous poem, Faust. Now to the Broken the witches ride. The stubble is gold and the corn is green, and Squire Uranus will come to preside. So over the valley our company floats, with witches a-farting on stinking old goats. This has been the Interdimensional Voyagers podcast. Thank you for listening. And on April the 30th, when the sun goes down, I hope you have a very happy Walpurgisnacht. And remember to leave some bread, butter and honey out for those hellhounds.